What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with Tech Daily, and in this video, we are checking out the brand new iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's the very big, very expensive, and very blue new iPhone made of space-age titanium material and now sporting a USB-C port, RIP to Lightning. I'm going to talk about all that stuff and everything else that's new this year, but first things first, let's go ahead and unbox it so you can see what all comes inside. There is something all new that's included. Peeling off a couple of stickers there and sliding off the lid, the first thing we get is the phone itself. Like I said, this is the blue titanium finish, and I do have a natural titanium iPhone 15 Pro that we can compare this to in just a second. Also inside, of course, the designed by Apple in California packet, which holds just a tiny instruction booklet and single Apple sticker. And last but not least, arguably the most important new accessory included with an iPhone in recent years, a USB-C to USB-C cable. Yes, the iPhone is now USB-C, no longer Lightning. And this is a super nice cable that Apple includes to sort of ease that pain. It's a thick braided nylon, similar to the MacBook charging cables. And out of everything, this transition to USB-C is most definitely the biggest change to all the new iPhone 15s this year. So here is the new iPhone 15 Pro Max. And right away, I want to just quickly mention that during setup, you're going to be prompted to do a software update. Don't ignore that. Update the phone before you go any further, because if you don't, there's a glitch that messes up the data transfer from your old iPhone to this new one, and we definitely don't want that happening. As you set up the phone, you'll also come across this crazy new menu screen that coincides with the new action button. Apple ditched the old silent ringer switch, and instead you have a single customizable side button that you can set up to do a bunch of different things, and I'll demo that for you in just a moment as well. So like I mentioned at the start, while the new iPhone 15 Pro Max maybe doesn't look all that new, it's made from a completely new material. The housing and frame of this phone is titanium, with the same super tough frosted glass back. Previous Pro iPhones were stainless steel and had that polished edge that definitely attracted a lot of fingerprints, and this new material certainly combats that a bit. More than that though, and aside from being the same material as the spacecraft's launch to Mars, titanium is lighter than stainless steel, but still just as strong. So on a massive phone like the 15 Pro Max, it feels way lighter in the hand, and it is some 19 grams lighter this year. This blue colorway I think is also pretty nice. It's very, very blue, and if you're curious, here's the natural finish on my regular 15 Pro, sort of just the bare metal look. You'll probably notice that titanium does still attract some smudges, and the color isn't exactly perfect. The blue Pro Max has some discoloration around the buttons and some lines and smudges that I've already seen people on Twitter complaining about, but I don't personally think that's a huge deal. I guess more than anything, I just wish there were more interesting color options this year. You have this blue, the natural titanium, and then black or white. But let me know what your favorite 15 Pro color is. I think I like the natural titanium just a little more myself. Besides the new material, the 15 Pro Max as a whole basically has the same design as last year. Big 6.7-inch display, dynamic island at the top. Some people have said the bezels on these new phones, like the black borders around the display, are smaller, but I don't personally see that. So let's dive into the other two big physical changes this year. First is the action button. This is a tiny physical button that replaces the silent ringer switch, and when you set up the phone or head on into settings, you can set the action button to do one of about 8 or 9 different things. The action button for now requires a press and hold. A quick press does nothing but tell you to hold it longer. By default, the action button still enables and disables silent mode. If you set the action button to anything else, your silent switch will be a shortcut in the control center menu, and the action button can also toggle focus mode, launch the camera, the flashlight, the magnifier, start a voice memo, trigger a shortcut or accessibility feature, or, weirdly enough, do nothing at all. And as you swipe through this ridiculously over-engineered menu, you can test out each action as well. I think across the different actions, launching a specific shortcut is probably going to be the most useful and customizable thing to do with this new button, but I'm interested to see what Apple and third-party developers wind up doing with it with future iOS updates. The other big physical change, of course, is USB-C. The Lightning port for charging and pairing accessories is gone. All the iPhone 15s this year have pivoted to USB-C. And honestly, I do think this is a great, long overdue change. Most of Apple's other major products are USB-C already. And beyond that, this just allows for a sort of universal smartphone plug type. It makes things simple. You can share cables with Android users now, or loan your iPhone cable out to someone else. Everyone has the exact same cables to charge their phone. Sure, it'll be a bit of a transition, but I'm super happy with USB-C iPhones, and I'm excited to have one universal plug type now. One other thing Apple didn't really change on the iPhone 15 Pro this year is the display. We once again have an LTPO Super Retina XDR screen with HDR10 and Dolby Vision content support, and the max brightness remains 1000 nits for the user-adjusted option and up to 2000 nits of peak auto brightness. This Pro Max still has the same 2796 by 1290 resolution, as weird as that is, which is totally fine. And honestly, I'm okay with the same screen as last year. It's a super smooth and responsive 120Hz ProMotion display. It's still way brighter than previous year's iPhones and even some Android devices still. And it's a very bold, vibrant, and colorful looking display for all kinds of content. I can't complain here, and I'm not really sure what Apple could have even done differently if they wanted to change anything. Powering the new iPhone 15 Pro Max this year is of course a new super powerful processor. Apple's A17 Pro. We also get 8 GB of RAM this year instead of 6, so naturally this is, of course, as Apple likes to say, the most powerful iPhone ever. Now that's sort of tough to measure nowadays. I feel like the last couple of years actually, the iPhone hasn't felt, at least to me, noticeably quicker with my day-to-day usage. But this phone can cut through some of those super complex console quality games they demoed in their keynote, which is cool. If you're a big gamer on the iPhone already, you'll definitely appreciate all the extra power on this phone, but I think for average everyday social media scrolling, you won't be blown away by performance. You also get all the new iOS 17 features, of course, but if you have any iPhone from the last few years, you already get that software update anyway. What's also sort of odd this year is the fact that Apple didn't really mention any better battery life for these new phones. The Pro Max has just a tiny bit bigger battery size, 4422 milliamps versus 4323 in the 14 Pro Max, but both the wired and wireless charging speeds are the same, even with that pivot to USB-C. And there's very little mention of better battery life anywhere from Apple. What you will see though under the battery settings now is the ability to set an 80% charge limit to help reduce battery aging and better optimize charging. That all is probably due to us complaining about that bad battery health percentage from the iPhone 14s, and I'm interested to see if maybe Apple did some additional things there to help improve the battery health specifically. Finally, as with every iPhone the last couple of years, Apple is all in on improving the cameras. Hardware-wise though, this year, there's actually no major difference. The iPhone 15 Pro Max has the same triple lens camera featuring a 48 megapixel main lens, 12 megapixel telephoto lens, and 12 megapixel ultra-wide, but how you utilize those lenses is pretty different, and the pictures and videos you end up getting with them have also been significantly improved. You now have the option to capture 24 and 48 megapixel photos, which is a change from the 12 megapixel option last year, and you can save them in the high efficiency image file formats instead of just RAW. The main camera lens can also be set specifically to 24mm, 28mm, and 35mm focal lengths, which you can do by simply tapping on the 1x icon a couple of times or by holding and turning the zoom dial. And these different focal lengths, or essentially zoom levels, can obviously give your images a different look entirely, even with the same subject or setting. One important thing to mention, the iPhone 15 Pro Max also gets the 5x telephoto zoom capabilities, which are better than what the regular 15 Pro has. But pretty much everything else is the same between these two phones, camera-wise. Obviously, you'll notice the camera improvements most when you actually start using it and snapping pictures and videos, and I'll have plenty of camera tests coming to the channel here soon. But Apple says they've improved portrait pictures, low light, enhanced detail and color, all the usual buzzwords that emphasize their camera improvements. So there you go, that's the new titanium blue iPhone 15 Pro Max and some of its new features and functions. It's not a massive upgrade over last year, but with a handful of new things, including the titanium finish and USB-C, I do think this new iPhone 15 Pro might be worthy of an upgrade. But what do you guys think? Will you be getting one of the new iPhone 15s this year? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow Tech Daily on Twitter and subscribe to the Tech Daily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.